Hi, welcome to a beginner's mind, compassion focused, trauma sensitive yoga practice that I'm going to share. I normally like to start by saying I'm going to share a practice I like to do. If there's anything that I share that you don't want to do, please don't do it yet. It's important you do your practice and listen to your body and do what feels right for you. I might make some suggestions of different ways that you could adjust your practice. And I'm also going to invite some compassion focused narratives and some metaphors. If there's anything that I say that doesn't quite gel for you, feel free to say something else in your own mind or focus on something else. And feel free to leave a comment if there's something that you do like or don't like. It'd be nice to get some feedback. So normally I like to start on my back, and if that's okay for you, you could come onto your back, maybe with your knees bent and your feet a comfortable distance apart. Maybe you'd like to have your hands off to the side of your mat. I like to start with some conscious breaths or deeper breaths. Maybe you could breathe down to your belly. If you don't like to focus on your breath, that's okay. You could have your attention elsewhere. I might suggest it throughout the practice. It's something that I like to do. But you also might notice the contact that you're making with the ground, the weight of gravity, the clothes on your skin, the air on your skin. Maybe there's sounds you can hear in your room or outside your room. Maybe the sounds of my voice. And if you like, from here you could let your knees go gently to the left, as little or as far as you want to go. Maybe you feel that into your lower back, your hip and thigh. And you might want to go up and over to the other side in your own time. Maybe going from side to side a few times in your own pace if you wanted. And when you are even and you've done both sides the same, you might like to come back so that your knees are in an upright position again. And maybe from there you could, if you wanted, lift both of your feet off the ground and bring a hand to the top of each of your knee. Maybe from there you'd like to roll a little gently from side to side. You could, if you want, roll forward and back, or bring your knees towards you and away, or from side to side, or in circles. You could have a go, if you wanted, wrapping yourself into a ball, maybe having a bit of a squeeze, maybe rounding your spine. Might feel that a little bit difficult to breathe, or a little bit of tightness in the torso. And then from there, if you wanted to, you could roll to the left or right so that your leg touches the ground, maybe keeping your legs as they are. You could bring your arm up to the ceiling and then extend out to the side and lower it towards the ground, as little or as far as you wanted. Maybe you'd like to look towards your hand as well. You might feel that into your hip and lower back, into your arm and chest, torso. And then from there you might want to bring your knees back to centre and then maybe rolling to the other side. You could take your other arm up to the ceiling and then extend it out to the side of your mat, maybe looking towards your hand if you wanted. You might feel that twist in your spine, your body swap over to the other side. And then from there you could come back to centre, and maybe you could bring up your right knee and straighten out your left leg, maybe taking your knee and thigh from side to side. You could take your knee in some circles going in each direction if you wanted. From there, if you wanted, you could gently pull on your knee towards your chest. Maybe you'd like to stay and hold with that for a little bit. Feel free, if you prefer, to come in and out of it. You could take your knee away from you and bring it back. Go back to circles or side to side, or maybe you prefer to stay and hold. Maybe with some conscious breaths or deeper breaths. Maybe you feel into what you notice, into your right leg, into your right hip and thigh and lower back. If you wanted to move on from there, perhaps you could let go of your hands and work to straighten up your leg. Maybe you could take your foot away from you and bring it back towards you. Maybe you feel that into your ankle, your shin and calf. You could move on from there if you wanted into a bit of a hamstring stretch, maybe by pulling on your leg and bringing it back towards you. You might feel that tighten in the back of your knee, down your thigh to your lower back. Again, you might be feeling it to stay and hold with that for a bit. If you prefer to come in and out of it and feel some movement, you could bend your knee and bring your heel towards your butt and straighten it back up. Maybe you want to stay and hold, maybe you want to have some movement and explore the range of movement you've got. Maybe you want to have some conscious breaths or deeper breaths. And then when you're ready to finish with that right leg, you could let it go and go back beside your other on your mat. Maybe you want to have a little moment of rest. Notice your breathing, have a deeper breath. You might notice a difference between your right and left legs as you've moved one more than the other. And then when you're ready to even it up, you could bend your other knee, bring your leg up towards you. Maybe starting with some side to side movements as you did before. From there you could, if you wanted, move on to taking the knee and thigh in some circles. Perhaps going in each direction. And again, if you wanted to, you could have a bit of a stretch with it where you pull on your knee towards your chest. And you may want to find a spot to stay and hold with it. You may want to come in and out of it by releasing your knee, taking it away from you and then bringing it back. It's really your choice, what you prefer. Maybe with some conscious breaths or deeper breaths. And then when you are ready to move on, you might want to let go of your hands and work to straighten up your leg, maybe with your hands behind your leg. In a place that feels right, you might want to start with taking your toes away from you and bringing them back towards you. Maybe you feel that into your ankle and shin. You could move on to have a bit of a hamstring stretch if you wanted by pulling on your leg back towards you, where you might feel that tighten in the back of your leg from your knee down your thigh and your lower back. You might want to stay and hold with that for a bit. If you prefer to come in and out of it with movement, you could bend your knee, bring your heel towards your butt, straighten your leg back up again. Maybe with some conscious breaths or deeper breaths. And when you're ready to finish with that leg, you could let it go back towards the floor beside your other leg. Maybe having a couple of conscious or deeper breaths, having a moment of rest. You might feel that as a release into your leg, to your lower back. Yoga means union, and it's the union of all things, even opposites like tension and release. You can see how they go together. If you wanted to move on from there, perhaps you could bend both knees again, bringing your feet again a comfortable distance apart. You could, with your palms facing down in line, with your shoulder perhaps, with your arms straight. Maybe you could lift up into what they call a bridge by pressing with your feet, lifting with your thighs, raising your hips up towards the ceiling. And maybe you prefer or want to stay and hold in your bridge for a bit, static bridge. Maybe you want to have some little movements with your hands or feet, shoulders or your chin, neck. You might want to come in and out of this with movement if you prefer, by lowering down in your bridge, rolling down with your spine, perhaps bringing your butt to the floor and then coming back up again in your own time, your own pace if you want to. Maybe you prefer to stay and hold for a bit in the bridge. It's your choice. Maybe with some conscious breaths or deeper breaths. Whatever you're doing, you might feel into your feet, into your legs, your thighs, your butt, your torso. You might feel when you're up in your bridge, feel extra weight in your upper back, your shoulders, the back of your head. And then when you're ready to finish with your bridge, you could lower down, perhaps moving into a butterfly shape by bringing your feet together and letting your knees fall apart, maybe stacking your hand in the back of one hand in the palm of the other and bringing the bottom of that hand to your mat above the top of your head and letting your elbows fall apart. You can feel free. Perhaps you might want to adjust or move a little with your feet, your hands, your knees, your elbows. You can come in and out of it if you want by raising your knees up or elbows up. Or maybe you find a spot where you want to stay still in your butterfly. It's really your choice. Maybe with some conscious breaths, deeper breaths, or noticing the breath, maybe not. Maybe you feel it and notice into your arms and legs, your shoulders, your hips, into your spine. In the butterfly, I always like to remind myself of the butterfly as a metaphor of change and transformation. And the biggest change and transformation for the butterfly happens in the cocoon. Maybe it can be a nice metaphor for our mental health journey where we might feel stuck or trapped, like we're going nowhere. I like to believe we can learn and grow through our struggles. It can be a nice metaphor to remind us that even though I may feel stuck, perhaps there is some change happening within. Maybe I'm transforming into something new, maybe into something beautiful. From here, perhaps you could come out of your butterfly by straightening your arms and legs away from you, maybe pointing your toes away, maybe lengthening your fingers away. I like to call this one the rack. You might feel a lengthening stretch through your arms and legs and torso. And then from your rack, perhaps you could bring your arms up towards the ceiling and continue over so your palms are facing down, maybe pushing your heels away. You could, from there, if you wanted, have a go pressing down into the floor. Maybe with the backs of your heels, your legs, your butt, your hands, your arms, your torso. And if you are pressing into the floor, you'll feel a tension build into your body. As the floor is not moving, it's not changing, tension builds. And then maybe after a nice inhale, on an exhale you could release that tension, perhaps by turning your palms up or letting your feet fall apart. You might feel that as a release into your body. Again, yoga means union of all things. Can be a nice metaphor perhaps for the release that we can have sometimes in our minds if we let go of trying to change the past or move the future that can't be moved. Maybe by coming back to the present moment, we might have some release in our minds, just as we did in our bodies. When you're ready, perhaps to move on from there, you could roll over and onto your stomach, perhaps coming onto your forearms into a sphinx shape, perhaps, maybe with your elbows under your shoulders, your hands in line with your elbow and shoulders. And then if you wanted to, you could join me. I like to feel into my neck in the sphinx, perhaps by dropping your chin And then perhaps taking your chin from side to side in little semicircle movements. And then from there, if you wanted to, you could move on to take your chin in some larger semicircles. And then maybe moving on into taking your chin in some full circles if you wanted to. You could perhaps go in each direction. You might feel into your neck and shoulders and upper back. We can often hold a bit of tension in our neck and shoulders. Be a nice thing to do. Another one that can be nice if you wanted is taking your chin all the way over to one shoulder and feeling perhaps one side of your neck stretch out as the other contracts. And then if you are doing that, you might want to even it out by taking your chin over to your other shoulder, extending on one side as the other contracts. And then perhaps it could be nice to move on to take your chin towards your chest. And you may feel the back of your neck stretch out. And then from there you could move on if you wanted, raising your chin and feeling the front of your neck stretch out. From there, perhaps you could move on if you wanted to. Come over to your side and onto one forearm, stacking your hips with your bottom leg on the floor, your other leg on top. And then from there, you could perhaps take your arm up to the ceiling. You could perhaps raise your leg up. From there, you could hold for a bit if you wanted. You could try bringing your hand towards your knee, lowering your leg down, and then raising it back up. Maybe holding with that again. Maybe raising and lowering again a few times if you prefer. And then when you're ready to move on, you might want to come back down into the Sphinx again, up rolling over and rolling over to the other side to even it up. Taking your other hand up towards the ceiling. Maybe raising your leg up again and holding for a bit. You could take your hand down towards your knee or thigh and then lower it back, foot back to join the other, and then raising it back up again. Again, you might want to repeat that a few times. You might want to stay and hold for a bit, and then when you're ready to move on, perhaps you could move back and into the Sphinx shape again, and then from your Sphinx you could, if you wanted, lower down so that you're into what they call a crocodile shape by stacking your hands, making a pillow for your forehead and lowering your forehead to the back of one of your hands. Maybe you feel that as a bit of a release into your arms and legs and torso. From there, perhaps if you wanted to move on, you could bend your knees, bringing your heels towards your butt. Now, if it's available or you're feeling it and you want to, you could reach back maybe to grab a foot and ankle with each hand. And from there, you could perhaps bring your heels towards your butt, pull on your feet and have a bit of a quad stretch. Now, if it's not available, you might prefer to feel into your thighs by straightening your legs and then bending them again and feeling a movement into your thighs. Or maybe you feel a stretch if you are pulling on your feet that goes into your thighs. Another one sometimes people like to do, sometimes I like to take my shoulders back or lift your knees or thighs. It's another option. Or another one you could try if you wanted is what they call a locust, where you have your hands back beside your hips, you straighten your arms and legs, and then you have a go lifting your hands or arms, your feet, or your knees or thighs, maybe raising your chin. And then from there, perhaps you could go back to the crocodile for a moment. Maybe, again, you might feel that as a release in the crocodile with your arms and legs. You could perhaps from there straighten out your arms away from the top of your mat and have a go lifting one arm and one leg at the same time and holding it for a few moments, or maybe you prefer some movement where you raise and lower it a few times. as little or as many as you want, staying and holding as long as you want. And then to even it up when you're ready, if you haven't already, you could swap over, do the other side. Maybe holding, maybe raising and lowering. You could keep repeating that 1 or 2 times more. You could have a go with both hands and both feet at the same time if you wanted to. Call this one the superhero. Again, you can raise and lower, you can stay and hold. And then when you are even, or you are ready to move on, if you haven't already, you could stack your hands again and go back to the crocodile shape. Again, maybe you feel that as a bit of a release into your arms and legs and torso. From there, perhaps you could move on by bringing both of your palms under each of your shoulders, facing down, your fingers towards the top of your mat, and then maybe pressing and lifting up into a cobra. Keeping your thighs on your mat, perhaps. You could raise up as little or as far as you want. Sometimes it can be nice to work your shoulders back and down. Traditionally, they used to teach sticking your tongue out and rolling your eyes back to the whites and going. They don't do that much these days. I still like to do it. When you're ready to move on from your cobra, you could perhaps push up onto your hands and knees. Maybe you could move into an angel shape by taking your knees wide towards the edge of your mat, your feet together and sitting back towards your heels. You could straighten your arms and lower your forehead towards your mat. Maybe you'd like to lower your forearms and elbows towards your mat. If you are doing that, you might feel a rounding a little in your upper back. You might feel it into your arms and shoulders, to your chest, into your torso, your back. You might feel it into your legs, your hips. Can be nice if you're into it. I like to have some gratitude thoughts. Maybe you could ask your mind, what am I grateful for today? What am I grateful for in this moment? Maybe what do I appreciate at the moment? Can be a nice thing to do if you're into it. Coming out of your angel, perhaps you could come up into an all-fours neutral spine position and call a tabletop. And maybe in your tabletop you could move on to some cat and cow stretches. If you haven't done it before, a cow is where you arch your back, you work your shoulders back, you raise your chin. And then a cat is where you round your spine up, your shoulders come forward, your chin towards your chest. And you can go from one to the other if you want it a few times. Sometimes I like to say you can move from one to the other. Meowing being optional. Can get creative in it if you want, where you take your hips from side to side, or forward and back, or a shoulder forward and back, or an elbow down and back up, or move in little ways that feel nice, perhaps feeling into your spine and torso. Another one you could try if you wanted is keeping yourself back in the neutral spine position and your knees as they are, walking your hands to one side, as little or as far as you want, perhaps to look to one shoulder or your feet. You might feel that as a bit of a side stretch. And then from there you could walk around to the other side. Again, going as little or as far as you wanted. You might feel that side stretch swap over. And then perhaps coming back to an all fours position, you could from there perhaps take one arm up towards the ceiling and following it with your gaze, having a bit of a twist in your torso. You might also feel that into your arm and shoulder. And then from there you can bring your hand back down, maybe getting your back of your hand and wrist between your knee and elbow. You could keep sliding it forward to get your elbow or forearm down. You could maybe keep sliding and get your shoulder and the side of your head down.
Maybe you'd like to adjust how you have your left hand, working your elbow back a little. Might want to twist a little in your torso to look towards your armpit or shoulder. Another option is to bring your other hand up and back behind you and look towards your shoulder. And then when you're ready to move on, if you haven't already, you could come back up to an all fours position again and take your other arm up to the ceiling again, following it, maybe noticing that twist in your spine and into your arm and shoulder. And then from here, perhaps getting into the other side, maybe your wrist, back of your hand down, your forearm down, elbow, maybe your shoulder, the side of your head. You might want to move your other arm or adjust it, maybe looking to your armpit or your shoulder. Again, another option is to bring your hand around behind you, working that into a twist into your torso. From there, you could bring your hands back down and come back up onto an all fours position. And then maybe from there you could step your right foot out to the side and forward a little so that you can tuck the toes of your left foot and maybe come up off onto your toes, maybe taking your feet wide and into a squat position. Another way is to come up into a squat with your hands on your knees and lower down as little or as far as you want. You might want to have hands on the ground or your elbows on your knees or between your knees. You can lower down as little or as far as you want in your expression of a squat. Feel free to move or adjust how you have your feet. Sometimes if your heels are coming up, it can be nice to come up and take your feet wider. That can make it sometimes easier to get your heels down. You might feel it into your hips, into your thighs, into your lower back, your legs. When you're ready to finish with your squat, perhaps you could bring your hands down and maybe slowly work your feet closer together. You could bring them all the way together or a comfortable distance apart. And then maybe you could let your arms dangle in a bit of a forward bend and your arms float around. Feel free to move, sway if you want, adjust. You could get into it deeper if you want to stretch by grabbing your back of your legs or ankles and working your torso towards your legs. Another one you could try is bringing one hand to the outside of one ankle, the opposite leg, and taking your arm up to the ceiling and having a bit of a twist with your torso. If you are doing that, you might want to bring it down and even up to the other side and twist the other way. From there, you can come back down. And then when you're ready, perhaps coming out of your forward bending position or shape, slowly coming up. Maybe you can have a little bit of a shake or move around in a way that feels nice. From here, perhaps, or where you are, you could come into a comfortable standing position. And maybe, if you wanted to, you could move on into some gentle swaying from side to side, feeling your weight transfer from more on one foot to the other, from the inside of your foot to the outside. You might also feel it a little bit into your ankles, into your knees. You could bring your attention perhaps up to your knees and maybe take your knees in some circles, going in one direction and back the other. You might feel that weight shift also on your feet, going a little bit forward and back. You could bring your attention up to your hips and maybe accentuate taking your hips in some circles, bringing them forward or side to side, or leaning forward or leaning back in different ways. Can feel nice. You could, when you're ready, coming back into a neutral standing position, perhaps bring some spinal move twists into play by taking your arms from side to side and looking from side to side, twisting your torso going from side to side. You could let your arms go floppy if you want. You could go as slow or as fast if you wanted to. You could let your arms go floppy and really go fast if you wanted. That's an option. And then when you're ready perhaps to move on, you could come back into a more neutral standing position, maybe have a little shake off, and then you could perhaps bring your attention to your shoulders and do some shoulder raises and back down, or maybe taking your shoulders in some circles, going forward and back, or moving them in ways that feel nice. You could then move on to, when you're ready, perhaps taking your arms in some circles, maybe going back with one arm, like a backstroke, swapping over to the other. You could try a forward stroke if you wanted, taking your arm in a forward. Again, you could go slow. If you're really into it, you could go fast if you're really feeling it. Another one you could try, when I was a kid, was trying to do one way and the other. Sometimes that's fun to have a go at. You could go in each direction if you're into that, swapping over. And then perhaps when you're ready to move on, you could have another little shake, and then maybe you could have a go. You take your arms up in front and then let your hands and arms flick down. You can bend your knees as you do it. You could do it with some inhales and exhales. You inhale on your way up, exhale on your way down. You could move on to having some wrist shakes if you wanted to, side to side or flicks. You could get into some kicks and flicks with your feet if you were into that. You could do another thing for a little bit. Nice. All right, when you're ready from there, perhaps you could move into a static standing position of your choosing, into what they like to call a mountain shape. You could perhaps bring your feet together, I was taught that, or it might be more steady, have your feet apart. Whatever feels steady for you, there's no right or wrong. Perhaps you could feel into your knees forward and back, your hips forward and back, into the weight over your arches or where it feels more steady. You could feel into your shoulders, your arms, your fingers and hands, feel into your chin, and whatever feels steady, tall and strong for you, your expression of a mountain, steady and strong. And the mountain can be a nice metaphor to invite in perhaps an experience of steadiness and strength, where the mountain stays tall, steady and strong, whatever the weather. Could be lightning, hail, thunder, sleet, snow. The mountain stays steady and strong. It could be baking sun or sandstorms, avalanches, tornadoes, cyclones, hurricanes. The mountain stays steady and strong, whatever the weather. And maybe within us all, we have our own inner mountain, an inner steadiness, an inner strength, that whatever the weather of our thoughts, whatever the weather of our emotions or body sensations, maybe we can find within ourselves an inner strength, an inner steadiness to observe, to be present, to bear witness, perhaps with the dignity of being a human and experiencing the human experience as steady and strong, like a mountain. Lovely. From there, you might like to move on, perhaps by coming into a wide-legged standing position, maybe with your feet parallel with the side of your mat, maybe your feet slightly open, whatever you prefer. And then from your wide-legged, comfortable standing position, perhaps you could turn out one foot and turn to face it with your torso. And then from there, you could adjust your back foot if you wanted as you face towards your front foot. From there, you could perhaps bring your arms up towards the ceiling. And then if you wanted to, you could have a go at a lunging warrior shape. Call this the warrior one shape. You can lunge as little or as far as you want. You can have your hands apart or together if you prefer, or down in a prayer position.
Whatever feels right for you. You might feel it into your legs, into your arms and torso. And then when you're ready to move on, perhaps bringing your arms back down, coming back to that wide-legged stance. And then to even it up, if you wanted to, you could turn out your other foot. Again, maybe turn to face it. Maybe you want to adjust your back foot if you wanted. You could bring your arms up towards the ceiling again, and then maybe again lunging forward into your expression of a warrior shape. As little or as far as you want to go. You might feel that into your legs, into your arms, into your torso. And then when you're ready, perhaps coming back into that wide-legged stance again. Feel free if you want to release, have a shake off. And then when you're ready to, perhaps from that wide-legged stance again, you could turn out your other foot. Maybe not turning to face at this time, maybe staying facing as you were. And then you could perhaps bring your arms up towards the ceiling. And then perhaps back down with your palms facing down, stopping in line with your shoulders. You could turn to the hand above your outturned foot, and then from there you could lunge forward, perhaps in your expression of a second warrior shape. They call this one the Warrior Two. I like to call it the movie yoga pose. Whenever you see yoga in the movies, they always do this one. From your movie yoga pose, you could perhaps, if you wanted to, bring your hand or elbow or forearm to your knee or thigh, maybe bringing your other arm up to the ceiling and following it with your gaze. You could, if you wanted to, even reach forward, stretching in line with your torso. You might feel it into your legs, into your arms, into your torso. And then when you're ready, perhaps you could come back up to that movie yoga Warrior Two shape. And then perhaps turning your hand above your outturned foot upwards, dropping your back hand back on your thigh, and then you could bring your upturned hand up towards the ceiling and slide your back hand back as you raise your gaze, perhaps coming up into what we call the reverse warrior. And then you could bring your arm back down, coming out of your reverse warrior, maybe back into that wide-legged standing position. Again, feel free to shake it off, have some movement coming back into your wide-legged shape when you're ready, and then turning out your other foot. Again, maybe bringing your arms up towards the ceiling if you wanted, and back down, stopping with your palms down in line with your shoulders, and then turning to your hand above your outturned foot, and then from there again, lunging forward as little or as far as you want to go in your expression of your Warrior Two shape. And then moving on, if you wanted, you could bring your elbow to knee or hand to knee or thigh, bring your other arm up to the ceiling, looking at it with your gaze perhaps, or reaching forward in line with your torso if you wanted. You could from there come back up to your Warrior Two shape, maybe turning your hand above your outturned foot upwards, dropping your back hand to your thigh, maybe raising your palm up towards the ceiling as your other hand slides back on your thigh, as little or as far as you want, your expression of a reverse warrior, and coming out perhaps by bringing your hand back down, back to that wide-legged stance. Again, you could shake it off for a moment if you wanted. When you're ready, coming back to the wide-legged stance again, and then perhaps turning out your foot again out to the side, again not turning to face at this time, with your hand on the out thigh of the foot that you've turned out. You could bring your other arm up to the ceiling, and then perhaps looking to that hand up on the ceiling, you could slide your other hand down as little or as far as you wanted to go in your expression of what they call a triangle shape. And then when you're ready to finish a triangle, you could come back up, bring your arm back down, back to that wide-legged stance. And again, when you're ready to, you might want to, from that wide-legged stance again, turn out your other foot with your hand on your thigh, your other arm up to the ceiling, maybe looking towards it with your gaze and sliding your other hand down as little or as far as you want to go
in your expression of a triangle shape. You might feel it in the backs of your leg, particularly your leg you're extending down, maybe into your arm and shoulder, and you're ready coming back to that wide-legged stance. From there you could release, maybe shake that off. Well done. From there perhaps you could come into a seated position of your choosing. Maybe you'd like to come into a seated cross-legged position, or maybe one leg in front of the other. And from your seated position that you've chosen, perhaps you could have a go at a forward bend, maybe sliding your hands forward, working your torso down as little or as far as you want to go. Now maybe you find a spot that you feel okay to stay and hold with that for a bit. But again, feel free to move or adjust. Come up with your torso and back down, or move around or adjust in any way that feels nice for you. Maybe you want to have some conscious breaths or deeper breaths with it. You might feel into your thighs, into your torso, your lower back, your hips. You could at some point have a go, if you wanted, walking your hands out to one knee or thigh, having it extend out to one side. And then you might feel that in the opposite side of your torso that you've gone as more of a side stretch, and the other side contracts. And then if you have done that, you might want to even it up and go round to the other side, perhaps extending out the other side. Again, as little or as far as you want to go. You might feel that stretch swap over, that extension to the other side of your torso. Now it can be nice, I like to go back to the centre after going side to side. Sometimes you feel a little bit different than you did at the beginning when you come back to the centre after going side to side. Maybe not. Again, feel free to move or adjust. And then when you're ready to, perhaps if you haven't already, you might want to come up into a more upright seated position. You could move on from there if you wanted by taking one hand behind you, the other hand to your knee or thigh as you twist your torso and look towards your shoulder where you've taken your hand behind you. You might feel that as a twist into your torso, and then if you are doing that, you might want to even it up. Come back to the other side, looking towards your other shoulder. Feel that twist swap over. From there you could come back to centre. You could have a go at a side bend if you wanted, either taking your hands behind you and bringing an elbow down, or your hand out to the side, your arm up to the ceiling, and lean to the side, feeling a side stretch. Two different ways of doing it, it's your choice. You can go as little or as far as you want, as little or as long as you want, and you might want to even it up if you haven't already, going to the other side. And then maybe coming back to centre. If you wanted to, you could straighten your legs out a bit, give them a little bit of a shake or move them around. And then perhaps adjust how you're sitting. Could be nice to have a go if you wanted, crossing your legs the other way and feeling a slight difference perhaps in your hips or thighs. From there, if you wanted to, you could have a go turning your palms up, maybe bringing your wrists or forearms to your knees or thighs. You could, if you wanted to, in this shape, with an open palm expression, invite in an attitude of self-acceptance. Maybe you like to say in your mind, I accept myself as I am, right here, right now. It doesn't mean that we don't have hopes or dreams or goals or aspirations.
But wherever we want to go, whatever we want to do, it's always from where we are in time and space. I accept myself as I am on my journey of learning and growth. And if ever you find yourself fighting reality or judging yourself, saying I should be here, I should be there, I could have, should have, would have, if only this, that or the other, these open palm expressions can be nice ones to come into and invite in again that attitude of self-acceptance. I accept myself as I am on my journey of learning and growth. From there, perhaps if you wanted to, you could bring your hands together, maybe rubbing your palms together. You could, if you want, perhaps from there, bring your hands, thumbs to your chest and your hands in prayer. You might still feel a little warmth between your hands. It can be nice in this one, if you wanted to invite in maybe saying some love and kindness by saying a prayer of love and kindness to yourself or for yourself. Maybe in your mind saying to yourself, may I be well, may I be happy, may I be loved, and may I have peace. Peace in my mind, in my heart, in my body, whatever I'm thinking or feeling or going through, may I have peace. And if you wanted to, you could say that prayer of love and kindness for a loved one or loved ones, maybe by picturing them in your mind and saying to them, may you be well, may you be happy, may you be loved, and may you have peace. Whatever you're thinking or feeling or going through, may you have peace. Lovely. Again, feel free to adjust how you're sitting or move in any way that feels right for you. You could, when you're ready, perhaps interlace your fingers and have a go pushing your hands away from you, rounding your shoulders forward. From there, if you wanted to, you could take your hands up towards the ceiling and back towards the back of your head. You could lower down and come back up if you wanted to with some movement. You might feel, if you're there, holding or moving into your shoulders, into your upper back. You might feel it up into your neck as well. From there, if you wanted to, when you're ready, perhaps you could release your hands and take them wide with your palms facing forward in line with your shoulders. Sometimes I like in this one to make a statement of affirmation, of acceptance, that I am just who I am. And then from there, if you wanted to, you could take your hands behind you. And with this one, sometimes I like to say to myself, and I can love, and I will be just who I will be. And then from there, perhaps you could bring your arms forward, crossing one arm over the other. And it's here that I say to myself normally, and I can love and accept myself as I am on my journey of learning and growth. And when you're ready, perhaps from there you could release, maybe shake that off. Again, feel free to move or adjust how you're sitting. Sometimes I like to imagine I'm flicking off negative judgments. And then to even it up, you could cross your arms the other way. Give yourself a hug and a squeeze the other way. Another nice thing to say to yourself, if you wanted to, is I love you just the way you are. We all deserve love and acceptance as humans. We're all learning through trial and error. And then from there, perhaps releasing. And if you wanted to, you could perhaps make your way back onto your mat. Maybe
lowering back, maybe with your knees bent towards your butt again, with your feet a comfortable distance apart, your hands out to the side, perhaps as you started, maybe with some conscious breaths or deeper breaths. You might feel into your contact you're making with the ground, with your mat. You might feel the weight of gravity closing your skin and the air in the skin. You might feel some of the effects in your body from the practice, from the movements and positions and shapes that you put your body into. Maybe you can notice and feel some of that. And then if you wanted to, from there, you could let the knees go again from side to side, perhaps like they're windscreen wipers, with your legs going from side to side in your own pace, in your own time, as little or as far as you wanted. Maybe feeling that twist into your lower back particularly, maybe into your hips and thighs. When you are even and you've done both sides the same, you could come back to an upright position. Maybe you could have a go lifting your feet off the ground and bringing a hand to the top of each knee. You could roll a little from side to side again if you wanted. You could take your knees towards you and away if you wanted, or roll in a ball again, or roll forward and back, or take your knees in some circles, or your legs wide and back together, whatever feels right for you. And then when you're ready to, perhaps you could move on if you wanted to, by reaching down for your feet or ankles and coming up into what they call a happy baby shape. Maybe you want to roll a little from side to side. Maybe you want to move your feet around in some circles. Can be nice if you wanted to have a smile when you're happy baby. From your happy baby, perhaps you could move on if you wanted to by bringing your feet together, sliding your hands up to your knees and lowering your feet down with your knees going wide, and then perhaps stacking the back of one hand and the palm of the other and bringing the bottom of that hand again to your mat above the top of your head and moving into the butterfly shape. Maybe letting your elbows go apart, your knees go apart. Feel free to move or adjust how you have your feet or hands, taking them away or closer towards you. Coming in and out of it if you want, bringing your knees up or back down, elbows back up, or maybe finding some stillness in your butterfly if you prefer. You might want to have some conscious breaths or deeper breaths. Again, it can be nice to invite in a bit of that butterfly magic or metaphor of change and transformation. And often on our journey we're wanting to transform fear and doubt and worry. And maybe the fact that you're here doing something healthy for your body and mind, here looking after yourself, being loving and kind and compassionate to yourself, maybe with a commitment to keep doing that, keep doing what's needed, keep being loving and kind and compassionate to yourself, that you can encourage yourself, that you've got this, you're going to be okay, you can learn and grow through whatever struggles you're going through. Maybe transform even into something beautiful. Day by day, moment by moment. And maybe the transform was there all along, inside you, in your very beingness. Perhaps you could come out of your butterfly by bringing your hands down, with your palms facing down in line with your shoulders. You could release your feet so that your feet are on your mat again, a comfortable distance apart. And if you wanted to, you could lift up again for a bridge shape. As little or as far up as you want to go. Feel free to move or adjust. Feel free to stay and hold, or lower down and raise back up, what I sometimes call draw bridging. You might feel it into your feet again, your legs, torso, your upper back, your shoulders, the back of your head. Maybe you want to have some conscious breaths with it, or deeper breaths. You could, if you want, support yourself in your bridge, propping with your elbows and bringing your hands to your hips, or thumbs to your lower back, or hands to your lower back if you wanted. Sometimes people like to use a prop, like a foam block in a supported bridge. And when you're ready to finish with your bridge shape, you could lower down if you wanted, and maybe moving into a restful position of your choosing, maybe with your knees still bent. Maybe you prefer to straighten your legs out if it's more restful. You could have your palms up or down on your mat, off your mat, maybe resting on your tummy or chest, whatever feels restful for you, perhaps moving or adjusting or staying still in a way that feels restful. It's your choice. When you're ready, perhaps giving your fingers and toes a little wiggle, maybe your hands a squeeze. Could be nice if you wanted to come out of this one perhaps by rolling over to your side and into the fetal position. I always like to remind myself at the end of my practice in this one that we've all come from the same place. We all once were little fetuses, little babies. And we all came into the world totally helpless, totally innocent, totally dependent on others for our survival. But we all came into the world with a confidence and clarity in asking for help. Babies do not hold back. We all came into the world with an openness and curiosity for learning, to learn from those who have gone before us, to learn from each other, and to learn through trial and error. And we all came into the world with a resiliency to keep picking ourselves up over and over, thousands and thousands of times we have. And I like to remind myself I'm still that same being, I'm still a human, I'm still learning throughout my whole life. And it's okay to be asking for help, it's okay to be learning from those who have gone before us, learning from each other and learning through trial and error. And I can keep reminding myself of the resiliency I was born with, to keep picking myself up over and over and coming back to that place I was also born with, openness and curiosity for learning. So maybe we could pick ourselves up one last time in our practice today to perhaps come back into a seated position again of your choosing. Maybe cross-legged or one leg in front of the other, or however you want to sit. You could, if you want, have a go with that open palm expression again. You could try mudra if you're into that, a thumb and finger, if it feels right. I have a little tradition at the end of my practice of singing a chant to honour the tradition of yoga and give thanks, appreciation for that tradition. A nice chant of invitation for meditation. Om.
saveturvarenyam Bargo devasya demahi Dio yona prachodayat Om. Go into it. If you haven't joined along already, you might want to do an Om with me, maybe not, keep listening. I normally start with a nice inhale. I'd like to finish by saying thank you. Thanks for sharing in the practice with me. Namaste and have a good day.